The first time she realized something was wrong, it wasn't the blood. It was the way he stood. The man she had married, the quiet, soft-spoken father who burned toast every Sunday and forgot where he left his keys, was suddenly different. His posture sharpened, his shoulders squared, and his eyes, usually warm and absent-minded, turned cold and calculating. Like he was no longer her husband. Like he was someone trained to survive. And that was the moment her world began to unravel. Amara Khan had built her life on certainty. As the CEO of a fast-growing tech company in Karachi, she was known for her precision, her discipline, and her ability to read people. Investors trusted her, employees admired her, competitors feared her. She didn't make mistakes, except, perhaps, when it came to love. She met Zion 3 years ago in the most unremarkable way possible, at a school meeting for her 6-year-old daughter, Hania. He was sitting in the corner, awkwardly trying to fix a broken chair while other parents whispered and complained. "Let me," she had said, slightly annoyed. But he smiled, scratched the back of his head, and replied, "I've got it. I used to fix worse things than chairs." She had laughed at that. "Like what?" He paused, then shrugged. "Life, I guess." It was such an odd answer that she didn't know how to respond. And yet, something about him stayed with her. Zion wasn't impressive in the traditional sense. He didn't wear expensive clothes. He didn't boast achievements. He worked a modest job as a mechanic and lived a simple life raising his son, Ion. But he was kind, unfailingly, quietly kind. He listened more than he spoke. He remembered the little things, how Hania liked her sandwiches cut diagonally, how Amara preferred her tea without sugar, how Ion needed a nightlight to sleep. He made their complicated lives feel simple. And for the first time in years, Amara allowed herself to believe that simplicity could be enough. They married a year later. It wasn't grand, no headlines, no corporate elites, just a small ceremony, a few close friends, and 2 children who laughed louder than the music. She thought she had found peace. She thought she knew him. She was wrong. It began with small things. Zion would wake up in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat, his breathing uneven. When she asked, he would dismiss it. Just a bad dream. He never elaborated. Sometimes, when a car backfired on the street, he would flinch, not dramatically, but enough for her to notice. His eyes would scan the surroundings, calculating exits, assessing threats. "Relax," she teased once. "It's just a sound." He forced a smile. "Yeah, just a sound." But his hands didn't stop trembling for a while. Amara noticed. Of course she did. She noticed everything. But she chose not to press. Everyone had a past, she told herself. Some people just carried it more quietly. Until the day the past refused to stay buried. It was a Tuesday evening. Amara had just returned home from a long day of negotiations. Her company was on the verge of securing a major international deal, and the pressure was immense. She walked into the house expecting the usual chaos, children arguing, the smell of overcooked food, Zion apologizing for something trivial. Instead, she found silence. Too much silence. "Hania," she called out. No answer. Ion. Still nothing. Her chest tightened. She stepped further into the house, her heels echoing against the floor. And then she saw it. The broken glass, the overturned table, and a man she didn't recognize lying unconscious near the door. Her breath caught in her throat. What? Before she could process it, Zion emerged from the hallway. Except, it didn't feel like Zion. There was blood on his shirt, someone else's, she hoped, and his expression was calm in a way that terrified her. "Are you hurt?" he asked, his voice steady. She stared at him. What happened? He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he walked past her, checked the windows, locked the doors, and pulled the curtains shut. Every movement was precise, efficient, practiced. "Zion," she said, her voice sharper now. "What is going on?" He finally looked at her. And in his eyes, she saw something she had never seen before. A man who had lived a life she knew nothing about. "They came for me," he said quietly. Her heart skipped. "Who?" He hesitated. "People I used to work with." That night, the truth came out. Not all at once, not easily, but piece by piece, like fragments of a story too heavy to carry whole. Zion wasn't just a mechanic. He had been part of a covert military unit. Not the kind that wore uniforms and marched in parades. The kind that didn't officially exist. Missions in hostile territories. Operations that never made the news. Decisions that blurred the line between right and wrong. "I left," he said, his voice low. "Years ago. I thought it was over. Amara felt like the ground beneath her feet had disappeared. You thought, she echoed. You thought, I didn't want that life anymore, he continued. I wanted this. He gestured around them. You, the kids, a normal life, and you didn't think I deserved to know. Her voice cracked, anger mixing with disbelief. I wanted to protect you. By lying to me. His silence was answer enough. The man on the floor woke up an hour later. He wasn't alone. 2 more had arrived, and suddenly, their home, the place Amara had built as a sanctuary, became something else entirely. A battleground. They're not here to negotiate, Zion said. How do you know? She demanded. Because I know them. There was no fear in his voice. Only certainty. And that scared her more than anything. The next few hours felt like a nightmare she couldn't wake up from. Zion moved through the house with a level of control she had never seen. He hid the children in a secure room, gave them instructions in a calm, reassuring tone, and then turned to Amara. You need to trust me. She looked at him, really looked at him. This man she loved, this stranger she had married. Do I? She whispered. He didn't flinch. I know I don't deserve it, he admitted. But right now, it's the only way we get through this. Something in his voice, raw, honest, unguarded, broke through her fear. She nodded. Tell me what to do. What followed wasn't chaos, it was precision. Zion anticipated every move, every angle, every possibility. He used the house like a map he had memorized, turning ordinary objects into tools, creating distractions, controlling the environment. Amara watched in stunned silence. This wasn't luck. This was training. Years of it. At one point, when everything seemed on the brink of collapse, he pulled her aside. No matter what happens, he said, his voice softer now, you keep them safe. That's all that matters. And you? She asked. He smiled faintly. I've been in worse situations. It wasn't reassuring, but somehow, it was enough. By dawn, it was over. The men were gone, some unconscious, some had fled, and the house, though damaged, still stood. More importantly, so did they. Hania ran into Amara's arms, crying. Ion clung to Zion, refusing to let go. For a moment, everything felt normal again. But it wasn't. It couldn't be. Days passed. The house was repaired. The children returned to school. And life, on the surface, went back to normal. But beneath it, something had changed. Amara couldn't unsee what she had seen. She couldn't unknow what she now knew. One evening, as they sat on the balcony, she finally spoke. Why didn't you tell me? She asked, her voice calm but heavy. Zion stared ahead, his expression distant. Because I was afraid, he said. Of what? Of losing this. He gestured between them. You, us. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said something he didn't expect. You almost did. He closed his eyes. I know. But she didn't leave. Not because she was weak. Not because she was naive. But because she understood something deeper. People weren't defined by their past alone. They were defined by the choices they made after. And Zion had chosen them. Every day, even when it meant carrying a burden he couldn't share. It wasn't easy. Trust had to be rebuilt. Conversations had to be had. Truths had to be faced. But slowly, carefully, they found their way back to each other. Not as the people they thought they were, but as the people they truly were. Stronger, wiser, more honest. One night, months later, Amara watched Zion as he helped the children with their homework. He laughed when Ion got an answer wrong. He patiently explained things to Hania. He looked normal, ordinary, just like the man she thought she married. But now she knew the truth. He wasn't ordinary. He was extraordinary in ways she had never imagined. And yet, he chose to be ordinary. For them, as she joined them at the table, Zion looked up and smiled. That same soft, familiar smile. Everything okay? He asked. She returned the smile. Yeah, she said, and for the first time since that night, she truly meant it. Because she finally understood something that changed everything. Sometimes, the strongest people aren't the ones who show their battles. They're the ones who walk away from them. And choose love instead.